going to get another no touchdown game, which is really funny for the NFL to have all these like no touchdown games at the end of the season when all the primetime games are happening.
That's right, Ray. Let's go to you next. I didn't get to see that game last night.
I watched the end. That was great.
I watched like the first like half quarter, and I checked in at the score, and I was like, wow, really low scoring game. And at the end, I was like, what was it, 12-9?
The Rams are just winning these games,
like 3 weeks in a row.
That got to make you feel really comfortable, like as a Rams fan, because you could just kind of assume that at some point their offense is going to click. And because we saw them, they just put up over 40 points against Buffalo less than a month ago, and then
done nothing since.
No, they've won 3 games since then. It's pretty good
on their defense, which
right.
I kind of wanted you to speak to.
But the thing is the offense, the offense isn't blowing people out right now, but they're also not moving backwards, and they're not making a bunch of mistakes because you've got Stafford, who's just like. Right. It's really interesting to see too, because like Stafford, when in his youth was a gunslinger. Who just they were always throwing the ball 50 times a game. So it's interesting to watch him play more like a Brady role, where he's just kind of managing the offense. And they're, man, can you imagine if Aaron Donald hadn't retired?
He may come out of retirement.
He says no. he has said no.
I read articles over articles, but it's like
him and McVay are close.
Yeah.
And so I would love to see it. I would like him and Colby Turner and Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk. That's ridiculous. That is that instantly becomes the best defensive line of football. I'm sorry. I know you've got Watt and Highsmith, but these kids that they drafted out of Florida State from over in Los Angeles to pair with Colby Turner, who's in his third year maybe? Second year, I think.
I think it's the second.
I think it's the second year because he came out last year and we were like, he was making plays where it was like you thought it was Donald at first, but it was Colby Turner.
Yeah, it was kind of like a passing the torch kind of year.
It really felt that way, and they're just they're getting after people. It's crazy.
And that's really, like you said, is what's winning us these games, because these offensive numbers just aren't there. And one of the things I worry about with Stafford is any game he could just throw 2 freebies to the opposing defense, right? And he did one yesterday.
He does take his chances where he throws sidearm
and I was like, fuck, that's one. Where's the second one? Like I said, I was having internet problems yesterday, and we had them this morning too. Actually, it just literally cleared up. Like, I just literally
for you guys
just took a screenshot, and said, because I was like, what's going on here? Why is we dropping so many frames? And I took a screenshot of me checking in on their internet, whatever. For whatever reason, Comcast is struggling this weekend. And then a minute later, it cleared up, and now we're doing good. But I say that to say I was trying to watch the games yesterday, but everything's done by internet now, and I wasn't able to get a good look at what was going on yesterday till about the end of the game. And that's what
that's when you wanted to see it.
Yeah. That's when I noticed everything going on. I did catch one pass to the tight end, and he didn't catch it. It was Allen. And then Nakua caught 3 in a row right after that. And it's just one of those things where I'm always get those tight ends involved, make it so they really have to play zone, or whatever, man to man, whatever they have to do, where they can't just put all their focus on Kupp and Nakua. You know what I mean? Get more targets out there. And that's one of the things Brady used to do, right? He would spread the ball a lot.
Well, and also he would just beat you with whoever it was you weren't guarding.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I'd like to see a little bit more of it. Maybe that contributed to getting Nakua open.
It sounds like what you're saying is they're forcing the ball. It does feel a little bit that way, where they're they are trying to move the ball through Puka and trying to move the ball through Kyron and trying not to mess up in other ways.
Yeah.
Is really what it feels like. And it's interesting because especially these last 3 games, it really looks like Cooper Kupp has become an auxiliary piece. They almost use him as a decoy when they're moving him, because they're really trying to open up Nakua. He's the man who's getting the ball.
Yep.
There were a number of plays last night that were essentially long run plays where they threw the ball to Nakua and Cooper Kupp was right in front of him as his lead blocker. So it's interesting. I'm in my third place game in that the half PPR dynasty, and I sat him this week, and I'm super happy about that. Like I thought about it, and I was like, man, this is like, it feels dumb because I feel like at any point he could just have a game where he has 11 targets, 10 catches, 115 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Because he's Cooper Kupp.
Right.
But if you are watching the Rams right now, it really doesn't feel like they're trying to get anywhere close to that.
And then the way the game ended with the
interception.
The interception.
It was. Tell me, like I said, I didn't get to watch this.
So
he came in.
It was a bounce. It was
bounced off his fucking.
It was
helmet.
it was a great play because it was
Murray. There you go. That's the name I was looking for.
He wasn't in coverage on the player that the ball bounced off of.
Right,
So
who
it was
he?
so.
Murray threw a pass.
Who was the
I
guy?
think
who,
it was an out route.
Witherspoon is the guy who made the play. I'm not. I'm not sure on his first name. He's a youngster for the Rams, cornerback. So he's in coverage on the receiver, the outside receiver, who's running like a fade, and then McBride runs an out underneath the fade, and the ball comes before McBride is ready, I think. And I don't recall if it hit the Rams helmet.
It hit McBride's helmet because he didn't get his head turned around.
And so it bounced up off and went up off of his helmet, and the Witherspoon on the other receiver had the wherewithal to turn around and see what was happening and dive, and like the ball touched the ground, but it was the rule is now as long as
control.
If it's under control and it doesn't move, the ball doesn't, or the ground doesn't help you complete the catch. And so they had to review it, but it was an insane play. It really looked like the game was going to come down to the Rams having to go back down and kick a field goal to make overtime. That's how it was playing out because it was 13-9. So you figure and the Cardinals were inside the 10. They had both of they still had 2 timeouts. They had just forced the Rams to use a timeout. And it was not looking good. Like if they had run any more, because they were
Dude, I was sweating.
So you guys were in trouble.
Yeah. So the Cardinals moved the ball all the way down the field. So they started that drive with like 4.5 minutes on the clock or something like that, and they were purposely running the clock. They were not trying to go out of bounds. They weren't trying to take their timeouts.
Yeah.
They got all the way inside like the 15 with 1:15 left or something like that. And they were very comfortable. And that play happened on like 2nd down or 3rd down, something like that. It was not. It definitely wasn't. It was not like this is it. This is the final play type of situation. And it just kind of like, wow, the game's over.
So like, and the thing about it was,
over.
McBride, they couldn't stop him that drive. They had targeted
the whole game.
They targeted him that whole drive. That's who it was.
McBride got his first receiving touchdown of the season.
I thought I heard that. Yeah.
And just boom, and the thing about it was, when he caught the interception, he rolled back to the 1-yard line. Like after the dive, he rolled, and then an Arizona player touched him. So it wasn't even a touchback. So they had to figure out a way to down it on the 1-yard line. So they had to they did 2 quarterback sneaks just to get 1 yard so they could take a knee. It was like, and even then you could see some Cardinals flying, trying to get him to knock back.
That's rough on old Stafford too.
And after all that, they still haven't clinched.
Yeah, that's what. So their playoff scenario is they just have to beat Seattle next week if Seattle wins today, right?
No, Seattle won Thursday.
Okay. So they
I believe there is a scenario in which they clinch this week, like if certain teams lose.
It's just really unlikely kind of thing.
It's just really unlikely, yeah. I do believe that there is like a scenario that can present itself where the Seahawks where they end up in a tiebreaker.
I see. That
the Seahawks cannot win.
It's funny because everyone keeps talking about Cincinnati. If they win out, they have a chance at the playoffs. Have you looked at that chance? At the playoffs?
It's actually, you know what?
They have to have like 6
Not
different
anymore.
things happen.
Not anymore. Not
Really?
anymore. Now all they need to do is win at Pittsburgh, and they need Miami and Indianapolis to lose one of their 2 final games. That's it. One. So now, So Indy, Miami, has Cleveland today, and then I don't know. They might still have to play the Jets again. I think they might have the Jets in Week 18. And then Indy plays New York today. Let me see. Hold on.
I just remember seeing all the scenarios when with like what they needed to happen. It was on the screen. I was like, that is not going to happen.
2 weeks ago, it was completely unlikely. There was no way. Like because they've been on. It hasn't just been them losing. They've also the Broncos could have won last week.
Right.
If the Broncos had won last week, they'd be done. They'd be out. So they still need the Broncos to lose.
So go ahead.
So to answer your question, I'm going to just read this straight off of the ramswire.usatoday.com. All right. So coming out of their win over the Cardinals, their attention will now turn to 5 teams that will be in action on Sunday and Monday. If they get at least 2 wins and a tie from 5 of these teams below, the division will be theirs. So here's the updated routing guide for the Rams in Week 17. The Bills versus New York, Browns versus Miami, Vikings versus Green Bay, Commanders versus Atlanta, and 49ers versus Detroit. So it looks like we need the Bills, Browns, Vikings, Commanders, or 49ers to win.
2 of those 5.
2 of those 5.
And a tie. So three of those 5 or 2 and a tie.
So Bills
Interesting. That's really interesting.
and Vikings would give us...
The 2 AFC teams are the thing that interests me the most because that's got to be like a common opponent thing. Because each division plays the same other divisions. So the Rams and the Seahawks. Did the Bills play the Seahawks?
I want to say they did.
I don't know.
But I don't know what week.
I don't remember that.
I don't know. It's your job to have the memory like that.
It is. I
kidding.
apologize.
You should.
Yes, they did. Week 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bills beat them in Week 8. So that's what that is common opponents. So
Oh, gotcha.
yeah. So they've both played the Dolphins. They both played the Bills. I don't think either of them played the Browns. So I'm not sure what that one has to do with it. That's an interesting one. And then the other ones are essentially lowering. Oh, it's weird that the Commanders helped them. I'm confused.
I'll worry about it next week.
There's a reason they have that Steve Kornacki guy
Well, look,
work
they
on
both
Sunday
played.
nights.
I think they both played Miami.
They did.
So,
But I don't know why Miami losing would be beneficial to the Rams. That's the part that I don't understand. I don't know everything. That's for sure. But in terms of how all the football rules work out and play, I know a lot of them. But there's a lot of nuance in this game.
and you know what? 49ers might actually beat Detroit. Is Detroit resting their starters?
They're
No,
not. They
they're
can't.
not. They have
can't?
to win out basically to get their bye.
I think they only have to win this week.
No, they have to win both weeks because it's the likely scenario. If Minnesota wins today and Detroit wins,
Oh, they're tied.
they're tied.
That's true.
14-2.
You say likely scenario, but the Vikings beat the Packers earlier in the year, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Those teams split all the time. It is so rare for one of them to sweep.
Yeah, and they're both really good teams. Yeah. But there's but to have 14-2 teams going at it for the division in Week 18
Sounds great.
That's crazy.
That sounds great.
I mean,
that does sound crazy that one of those teams is going to win 14 games and have to play on the road.
right?
Yeah.
And to have 3 teams to have 11 plus wins in
And it
one division.
could be 12.
It could be 12.
It could be
plus wins.
13.
Dude, how crazy is
We
that?
could have 3 teams in the same division win 13 games. That could happen. That could still happen right now.
That's nuts.
That is nuts.
So with that scenario happening, Rams would clinch, and they would stay the 3rd seed too, I believe, even if they rested.
Have
their
we ever
starters.
had that before? And it would be 12 instead of 13. But have we ever had a division have 3 12-game winners?
Not that I can ever remember.
I don't think so.
Yeah. That's
Because I know that the Cowboys and the Eagles have both won 12 games. It feels like a couple
two
of times.
like
Yeah.
2 teams you've seen before,
Yeah.
but 3 teams.
Yes.
That's truly unique. I can't remember ever seeing it.
Because that's them literally only losing to each other.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
It's insane. It is nuts. It is quite nuts.
All right.
All right, so we're ready to jump into the shortened schedule, right? I think so.
Yeah, I think so. And it should be an easy week for us to call. Last week we scored 11, 9, 11, 10. Me and Brian's tying at 11. If you want to look at the week 16 results, let me pull that up real quick for you again. You look curious.
So you got a pretty comfortable lead then. On
Yeah,
the,
six-game win, a 6-game lead. I did win my lone wolf, I think. Who was my lone wolf? I seen that I had
Chiefs.
one.
I think you had the Chiefs on Christmas, right?
You guys gave me an easy lone
Yeah.
wolf. Yeah. That Seattle-Chicago Bear almost panned out. Seattle and Chicago, what a boring Thursday night game.
I almost picked the Raiders. I almost lone wolfed on the Raiders last week. I really wanted to. But the Jaguars, they just played too well the last couple of weeks, you know? This league's weird. it's hard to figure out.
And that Titans was a higher scoring game. Titans, Indianapolis, your lone wolf over there.
That was another one that was like it was funny how that game just kind of got away from them. And also that's the game that lost me my championship. Was like I was. It's so funny too because the timeline of everything. We're at I don't know. It's probably like 10:45, 11 a.m. or something like that. And Saquon Barkley rips off that 75-yard touchdown run or something, whatever it was against Washington. And I'm just like jumping, go, just like yes. And then like 20 minutes later, not even 20 minutes later, I saw probably in the next couple minutes on the ticker that Jonathan Taylor had ripped off a long touchdown run too, and I was like, oh great. And then 20 minutes after that, I'm turned on to that game, and I'm like, there goes my championship. there it goes. There goes and he's just and the Titans were. It's so crazy because they played such good defense and they were just butter last week against the Colts of all teams. And Jonathan Taylor had struggled so bad. It was frustrating, but the Titans did come all the way back in that game. They were down, I think, at one point 38-7. And
was that bad?
Yeah. Oh, it was bad. It was bad. And because I remember the last touchdown that Taylor scored, I was like, why is he even still in the game? Because it was mid third quarter, late third quarter, something like that, and they're up 24. Yeah. And but then the Titans came all the way back, and the final score was 38-30, I think.
But the Bears not being able to put up
the Bears suck.
More than 3 points.
The Bears just suck. That
wow. And here's the thing is like the dude got sacked 7 times that game? 6 times? At least 6.
That was honestly that was one thing I felt stupid about this week was I still don't feel that done. I'm starting the Eagles defense against the Cowboys without CeeDee Lamb, and they're at home. But I had the Seahawks defense, and I could have started the Seahawks defense against the Bears. Caleb Williams takes 4 sacks a game. He's been sacked 66 times this season. And I'm glad you brought it up, that game, because if you go back and you listen to our rookie review when we broke down the quarterbacks, you'll hear you can match everything negative that I said about Caleb Williams to Thursday night's game. This is not going to work out. He's not going to work out.
You still don't think so? Huh?
I don't think so.
You don't think it's an organization
I just don't.
thing?
No, because half of those sacks are on him. It's him not understanding what is actually required of him to be successful at the quarterback position. He has gotten away with playground football for so long. I had to have said that would have worked in college 10 times on Thursday night. And
so they should bring in Rattler?
Yeah, definitely. That'd be an upgrade. long term, it's going to be an upgrade, and you can get, go ahead and laugh. But I still love Spencer Rattler. I like watching what I see from him, and he's working with nobody. He's got nobody to throw the ball to. So
he'll be lucky to stay in the league as a number 1. Though he's had a rough one.
I don't see it that way. He looks better to me than Anthony Richardson does.
Really?
Yeah, Anthony Richardson is a fantasy football darling.
He's
because of his physical gifts.
He makes plays though.
As a
court, just whoa.
Okay, sure.
But then you make plays and you're like, whoa, come on, dude, you can't do that.
Yes, exactly.
I get it.
And Caleb Williams is somewhere in the middle, and he does so many things where it's you can't do that in the NFL. You can't do that in the NFL. Someone had to have told you that that's not going to work. You know that, like, someone has to be telling you that's not the right thing to be doing. And what he did the most often was set his feet with a pass rush coming at him and then not throw the football. If you set your feet while the pass rush is coming at you and your pocket is collapsing and it's not formed, then you better throw the football.
Right.
You can't pull it down. If you pull it down, you might as well just drop to your knee because you are going to take a sack.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. And his offensive line is not good. I'm not saying, like, his offensive line is not doing him any favors, but they're also, like, if you don't have guys that are just rushing right up the middle, I'm talking about, like, you take the snap and your guard and center combination are just getting beat and you don't get a chance to look, that's one thing. That's not happening. What's happening is that he is setting his feet in areas where he shouldn't, and he's right where the defenders need him to be to get wrapped up before he can go and make another play. So you're not seeing a whole lot of the Caleb Williams that gets out of the pocket and makes, spectacular plays after 10 seconds of scrambling, because he's like, and maybe he'll get better at that aspect, but it really doesn't look like he knows what's going on. And if he doesn't see it, he's not going to throw it. And that doesn't work. That just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to make throws in this league where you trust that you know what's going to happen. You're not going to see everything.
But I'm saying, you don't think he can get there?
I haven't seen anything so far that leads me to believe that he's growing as a quarterback.
Okay, I mean, I disagree a little bit. There was a stretch there, kind of like not
against
the last
bad
few weeks,
teams,
but there was
against bad teams.
and that's fair. But he's still a rookie. Like, don't get me wrong, he's disappointing. He's not where he should be. Blah blah blah. I'm just saying, I'm not if especially if I'm like the Bears, I'm not giving up on him or anything like that.
No, I didn't say that.
I think he's.
Give
I
him
think
a
he still
chance.
has a good chance to become a quarterback.
I'm just
a good
predicting
quarterback.
what I see from what I see. Yeah, I'm not rooting against him. Like, I hope he gets better, especially since I have him on my half PPR dynasty team. But
if Bryce Young can get better, so can he.
I don't think that's the same. I don't think that's the same. And you know what? How dare you try and shame Bryce Young right now because you didn't think it was going to happen? Like, and it's you know who he's playing a lot better than right now? C.J. Stroud. Like, if the Texans traded with the Panthers for Bryce Young right now, that would be an upgrade.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, just definitely the way they've been playing the last few weeks.
He looks like he's having a sophomore slump. He looks like he's struggling, dude. And now that we're talking about that for a second, sorry, like, we haven't really gotten to the games yet, so that's good. I'm not like.
Yeah, we'll just have to go through the games quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we're coming up on 9:30 though, so we should. But anyway, there was a play that pissed me off so bad in that they played on Christmas. Was that no?
Who? The Texans.
Yeah, Baltimore. Yeah, they played on Christmas.
Yes.
They're getting pummeled, right? There's like 3-4 minutes to go in the first half. Okay, they're moving the ball. They're on the Baltimore side of the field. He drops back to pass. The play breaks down. He ends up rolling, and he ends up running the ball out of bounds 2 or 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And the clock continues to run because that's how the rules work. If he had just flung the ball 2 yards out of bounds, it would have stopped the clock and they wouldn't have lost yardage.
So he ran backwards. Is that what it was?
He rolled back, right? And then he broke out of the pocket. And a lane never presented itself for him to get in front of the line and gain yards. And rather than throw the ball away, he just allowed himself to drift out of bounds, which lost yardage and kept the clock long enough for them to respot the ball. And that's it. But I don't think so. I think that's just college. In the NFL, I don't believe I'd have to double check this, but